Hello, everybody. I'm Zenithwillrule, and welcome back to Diving Into DuckTales, where Kat Macberrie, Doug Macberrie, and I go through each individual episode of the latest DuckTales series. Since 2018 is pretty much almost over, and this was started in 2017, I cannot refer to it as DuckTales 2017 anymore. So the latest DuckTales series, we talk about DuckTales, and we discuss each individual episode. Now, last time we discussed the finale of Season 1. Well, not really discussed. We had a live reaction to the finale, and we had a lot of fun with that. We're going to be doing a little bit of discussion of the finale, a little bit of a recap, and our thoughts on the previous season before we get into today's episode, because I know a lot of people are asking for it, and we really needed a break after the last episode, but we have been planning this. But before we get into that, before we discuss the three things for today, how's it going, Kat?
I'm excited to be back. New season of DuckTales. Yay! Woohoo!
Yeah, and it's not going to be the only season because we've actually been confirmed for a season 3. Season 3 has already been greenlit.
That's awesome. You know they got stuff planned if they're like being pre-approved that far in advance. Granted that's happened before with other shows, but it is nice to know that our job is secure for the future.
It's nice to have some job security. It is also a little bit... it's exciting to know that there's going to be more storylines, although I do think that going forth that I'm probably going to have to start building up my stamina if I'm going to get any other videos out this year. But with that being said, I'm excited. Also, how's it going, Master Doug?
I'm doing okay, and despite the fact that it is past 2017, I'm still calling it DuckTales 2017. I don't care.
Well, Doug, you are the voice of reason for me. I support your decision, and I will go with this. Let's do that.
All right.
Let us briefly go over the season finale of Season 1 of DuckTales, because while we did have our reactions and we did have our discussion at the end of it, some time has passed, and I think it's a good time to really go back and discuss how epic and how great a season finale this was. Do you want to start us off, Kat?
Sure. Let's see. Condensed version. Scrooge is depressed. The kids are mad. Donald's trying to keep things together. Magica comes back. Shit goes down. Everyone goes pew pew ponage lasers, and we all have live happily ever after. Or do we? Da-da. Nah, I'm kidding.
Dewey Tonight.
Sponsored by Dewey Tonight. Yeah, like the finale, as you all saw us reacting to it, was the big epic finale where Magica finally gets her powers back. She takes on Scrooge, captures him, captures Lena. She puts a curse over the town. She takes over the bin, and it looks like the world's about to end. So it's up to the family who had a falling out with Scrooge in the previous episode to forgive him, come together, and work together as a family to overcome the evil and save Duckburg. With lasers!
This finale, let me just say, was everything I wanted it to be in so many ways. It was epic, it was deep, it was emotional, it gave everyone really big, powerful moments. I mean, hell, Donald got to be badass for the entire episode.
Donald was awesome!
Donald Cheadle.
Donald Cheadle.
I am the storm.
Okay, seriously, have you been saying things like that the entire time?
In casting Donald Cheadle as Donald was perfect. I do want to comment on some of the subtle things, though. I brought this up in the reaction, but something that we're going to get into in a little bit for Season 2, they changed the opening. And if you notice in the original opening, they have the coin wink before they start running, and it's Scrooge's face on the coin, foreshadowing events for this season. It's not in season two's opening. And so it's just like they foreshadow this so subtly that it was ridiculous. I'm going back and I was looking at it and I'm like, wow, they knew their season finale way in advance.
Mm-hmm.
I actually double-checked that the coin did not wink in the season finale.
It didn't wink?
No, it
Oh.
didn't actually wink.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's a subtle foreshadowing. They did take it out of the new opening because I don't remember seeing that in season two's opening.
I think
No,
more like
definitely
it might have been a
wasn't
glare, like the light reflecting off and making it look like it blinked.
That might have been it too. Again, my memory is slightly fuzzy, but I do have to acknowledge that the stuff that they put in for foreshadowing, for certain things, really paid off, and there are little things that I liked that they did. I liked that they changed Donald's voice and gave him a voice actor for once, that you could actually understand. I liked that there was a lot more character depth, and I like the ending thing about Lena basically kind of being part of Magica and coming back as Webby's friend because of the friendship bracelet. So she has like now a kind of a ghost power. It's really cool.
I do. I still am really confused though by her whole creation, because like I know they explained it how Magica's like her pretty much her entire being was trapped within the dime, and only her like essence escaped and then turned into Lena, like her shadow and all that. But it still confuses me as to why she chose the form of some like random teenager, how she wouldn't like turn into like maybe a younger version of herself or whatever. I mean, and the fact that she was she basically was a teenager for 15 years. Like I know she grew into be 15 years old, but it was kind of weird, and I'm trying to think what her overall plan was. Like she did so her plan was to get in good with Scrooge by ways of some little girl she didn't know existed for another like 10 years. I don't know. There's just a lot of things that confuse me about Lena's creation and her whole purpose. I mean, when you think about it, like Lena kind of stumbled upon Webby by accident, and it was just a happy coincidence that she happened to get in. It's just, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, I'm gonna hand it over to Doug in a second, but I think the one thing that I can say is it was a desperate move. I don't think I don't think Magica was thinking at the time. She just needed to break off a piece of herself, and we saw her cave that she was just planning and plotting. Just I think she went through a lot of different plans, because for her to take this amount of time, like she probably tried a few different things. Not to mention the fact that she was a little bit like crazed when she was almost succeeding in the time that she got caught by Webby. So it's just like it feels like she had gone desperate to the point where she was just trying anything at that point.
I guess it's just like because she obviously can form her shadow, and while apparently her shadow can't really do anything on its own, like part of her shadow can become a new solid human being, but she can't control the shadow because apparently the shadow has its own like will and consciousness and everything. I don't know. There's just like so many questions in regard to Lena, and it just confuses me the more I think about it. Because like when we rewatch this, in the proper order and everything, and I'm going back to like look at all the hints and everything, I'm just like, okay, that doesn't make sense if she's a shadow. That doesn't make sense if she's a shadow, and that doesn't make sense. It just snowballed from there, and now I'm just confused. I'm confused. My brain hurts.
What do you think, Doug?
Well, I remember we had kind of been talking about this possible theory in that, You had said that Lena was based on like an actual character from the comic books who actually was like Magica's niece, and then we had the whole she turned her brother into a crow and yada yada. Part of me is like thinking that the niece existed long ago because I believe, we've said that Magica has existed for over a 100 years or so, or that her
Yeah.
feud goes back with McDuck Clan that long. So I mean, my theory is that it's possible that Lena did actually exist prior to when she got banished into the coin, but she had died, and Lena kind of was the Lena that we knew was maybe like a spirit in corporal form, so that Magica would be able to survive within. I mean, honestly, it does. It requires that we know a little bit more about the past, but obviously it's just it's a theory for now.
A game theory. No,
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that would make a little more sense if it was like maybe she sacrificed her niece for a spell or something and like had been using her soul as a vessel and then just, recreated it, except that she has no memories of like her past life or whatever. Like,
And yet she knows that she's the niece, though. She retains apparently.
yeah, that's another thing that confuses me too is that, you know, even though she knows she's a shadow controlled by Magica, at the same time she thinks she's her aunt, and Magica lets her believe that. Like, that just
it,
adds to it.
it would make sense if she was actually alive beforehand, especially because she keeps asking for freedom. Why would a shadow ask for freedom?
Right. That's what I kept thinking this whole time is that, she just happened to wander upon the soul of her aunt and her aunt latched on to her and she couldn't get rid of her. Like, I think of like a Voldemort situation back when he like possessed Quirrell or whatever. But I don't know, the whole revelation kind of threw that out the window, but I'm wondering if maybe that's how it started and maybe it kind of devolved from there. I don't know.
All I know at the moment is that, well, I do agree that there are some small plot holes, and that some of it upon reflection, like when watching the episode, I was just so enraptured I didn't really care too much about them. Watching them a second time, I still don't really care too much, but I do see your points there, and but I still think this finale is great. I think there's just so much to enjoy, so much to love for every single character. Everyone gets a chance to shine. I mean, like, every single scene you see someone like of the team doing something epic. Like you see Gyro getting a chance to do something pretty awesome, and Mrs. Beakley, and hell, Donald gets like most of the episode, and Launchpad crashing the plane and going onto the wing of the plane with the Darkwing Duck reference, and like there's a lot to love about this. And for as much as I can criticize little things like the plot holes with Lena, unless they aren't plot holes and there's more to it than we know. But as much as you can criticize certain things at the moment, it still was a brilliant finale, and it leaves us open for so much more.
Oh, totally. Like, aside from the whole Lena thing, the ending was pretty flawless, and like I wholeheartedly enjoyed it. I enjoyed all the action and everything, and the humor was great. And then of course the freaking cliffhanger with Della, like.
Oh god, there was so much. Like the cliffhanger with Della, like had me like, wait, what? That's how you end? Like, damn it. And then Magica being so powerful and sexy, and even though she has like the sickening like green skin, like she still manages to like look menacing and villainous and sexy. And then like she proves why she's a force to be reckoned with in this episode. And I've stated before that like I wanted her to do that. Well, in like the last 4 or 5 episodes, Magica quickly rose to become my favorite villain, while Glomgold is my favorite bumbling villain, Magica is my favorite villain. Doug, what do you think?
Oh, of course. I mean, it's like, even in the old series, it's like she's always a force to be reckoned with. Like, she was always kind of fun, but, like, you knew that she's a serious threat. And I think they really kept that going in this series. And it's just like, just the Catherine Tate does an amazing job of portraying her, especially, like we said, because she also has that, dynamic with David Tennant from back in Doctor Who. It's just, oh my God, she is just having so much fun with the role and so much fun with the banter, and yeah, I mean, I love what you call it, June Foray, but Catherine Tate really knocks it out of the park in this.
Definitely agreed. Definitely
like-
agreed.
Like I said before, you either die a companion or live long enough to turn into a duck with magic powers and become the villain to the new Doctor Who.
And let me just say that I love how they handled essentially taking Scrooge out of the picture, because to be fair, Scrooge is a force to be reckoned with. If he was there from the start, he would have a challenge, but he wouldn't have as big of a challenge. But having him taken out of the picture so instantaneously like that, and that was just such a brilliant way to gear into the finale, because you didn't know what was going to happen. You could predict having a few of these heroes and villains show up, but honestly, like, the way they handled it, I was kind of unsure what was going to go down.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'm glad they didn't do was the typical cliche where characters fight and then the only reason they get back together is because they're forced to work together due to some, like, overall threat. In this case, they actually make up, like, sort of before everything goes down. It's just, taking on the villain kind of helps solidify the bond. So I really do like that. It's like they didn't need to be forced to save Scrooge. They did it of their own will. So I really did appreciate that.
And guilt. Don't forget guilt.
I know how to weaponize guilt.
All right, I think that's enough more about the finale. I mean, we've actually been talking 20 minutes about that. I mean, there's a lot to talk about, honestly, and we could probably go on for hours about it, just because that episode alone was fantastic. But we already created that previous episode, and I don't want to dwell on it too long. That was our critical thoughts, but let's discuss season 1 as a whole. Like, looking back, I think that some of the criticisms that we made definitely did not hold up in terms of earlier episodes where we were unsure the direction of where things were going. I still stand behind the fact that I think Mummies of Toth-Ra is the weakest episode of this season. Aside from that, I feel like some of the criticisms that we made for Terror of the Terraformians don't quite hold up when you watch it in the proper production order.
Yeah, I agree, because when we watched it in the proper order, like, the whole build-up, with them showing the Everest episode first and establishing, that Huey is correct and everything, and then showing him being correct for the next few episodes, and then finally showing that his way of thinking is not always correct, that had a much better payoff, in my opinion, and definitely didn't hurt the episode as much. I still don't particularly care for that episode too much, but it's definitely, it's definitely not as annoying as it was upon first viewing, or at least, Huey's not as annoying, because you know that his way of thinking was correct in the past. It just didn't apply to that situation.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those things where, taken individually, it's not a bad episode, but a lot of it requires context, and I feel like it's not essentially plot essential to watch them in production order, but it works for character arcs, and I think that's something the studio knew about, but the way they aired it didn't really allow for. It's like this is very clearly planned to be watched in a certain order, and you can watch it in the order that it was aired, but the production order does improve a lot of the things that we commented on, and that's something that I urge you to do. It's like the Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. There's a specific order you have to watch things in, and if you don't, it really does hamper the enjoyment of it.
I'll take your word for that.
Don't watch Endless 8. Don't watch Endless 8.
Don't watch Endless 8 unless you actually want to suffer. I haven't actually seen Haruhi yet. That's on my list of anime things to review, but I have heard Arcada's thoughts on that. Still, this is one of those cases where there's a specific order you really do to enhance your viewing. It's not essentially necessary, but to enhance your viewing, watch it in production order. But looking back on the season as a whole, it's really damn good. It is a really solid season. The first half does really great setup. It has a really great hook and intrigue and mystery. And the second half, just the shoes drop. All of the shoes drop, and it's one thing after another of really great character development. Jaws, in hindsight, is a little bit more necessary than I thought at first. I'm still not 100% on liking the episode as much as some of the later Magica episodes, but it does make a lot more sense in hindsight considering the coin stuff. She just needed the coin. She was that desperate, and she was willing to sacrifice Lena, who she didn't really care about. And it makes a lot more sense in hindsight than it did watching it.
It did and it didn't. Like I said, on the one hand, yeah, she's a shadow, so, it makes sense that Magica wouldn't give a crap whether she lived or died. But on the other hand, Lena is still her vessel. She is the only thing that, can physically grab stuff for her. So it doesn't make sense why she would sacrifice that for a dime, because then that means she wouldn't be able to actually get her hands on the dime. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, you do raise a point there. So again, some of the stuff with Lena is very, very weird. And until we know more about, the friendship bracelet and some of the stuff that they hinted at, but they haven't really delved into all that much, I wanna reserve judgment a little bit, because I feel like there's something there. We just don't know what it is.
I'm just gonna call Lena a Heartless from now on, because that's basically what she is. Or would she be a nobody?
No, that I believe she would be a Heartless. She became a shadow because the nobody is the husk of the body left behind, and she has no body.
True. I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't know. I'll just call her Heartless for now, just because of the whole shadowy thing.
Darkness.
It makes more sense than the explanation they're giving us.
No parents. Doug, what do you think?
So yeah, my thoughts on the season overall. Oh my god, I really love it. Yes, I'm with you on it does slightly work better in production order. Although, aside from say Terror of the Terrafermians, it's not a big deal to air the episodes out of order. Terror of the Terrafermians, I think, was just aired way too early, and of course Neverest too late. But yeah, aside from that, yeah, I mean all of the episodes basically work, out of production order, because they still kind of air in storyline order. And oh man, yeah, I don't really dislike any episodes. I mean, yeah, definitely, Mummies of Tothra is the weakest, but there are still so many things to like about it. I mean, I'm hard pressed to really find any bad episode. even if like they have like their annoying parts, it's like overall, it's still fun. It's still a good ride. I love, especially, this is one of those shows that does bear multiple viewings because there are so many Easter eggs to catch. Like one thing I wanted to also mention, I forget if I mentioned it before, but in the case files of Agent 22, when they're in the cave, uh, in the present with Webby and Scrooge, you notice that there's actually some like binary code carved into the wall, and it's like the what you call it, the surviving robot actually wrote that as like a tribute to the one that was killed, that was right next to him, that was like put into the water and electrocuted. So I mean, I love it. There's little details like that. And I mean, one thing I did also want to mention, and it's kind of funny. It's not really so much related, but we hear one word from the mother, from Della at the very end, and it's she's voiced by Paget Brewster. And it's what's funny is like a week or two ago they had a special on Adult Swim of Harvey Birdman, where the same actress was playing Bird Girl. So I'm like, that was particularly funny. But yeah, I mean, just you love little things like that.
Haha, coincidence.
Ducks.
Duck parts. Yeah, like I really enjoyed a lot of the subtle references and subtle things that they put in the episode, and I do agree there. For all the criticism that we can give, I don't believe there's a bad episode, and it is very much the same way like Gravity Falls. I don't think there was really a bad episode. You could maybe say the Love God is probably the weakest of the show, but I don't think there's truly a bad episode. And that's a testament to writing quality and how good you can make a show, because I can point to any number of shows that started out and you have that one episode, you have the one or two episodes where you don't want to talk about it ever again. And it happens even to the best shows. Hell, Doctor Who had that with like Love and Monsters. We don't want to speak of that ever again, but it's there. And
Avatar: The Last Airbender. Oh look, there's the Great Divide. Let's just keep going.
Or Steven Universe and Rocknaldo.
God damn you, Ronaldo.
Sorry, I had to.
But yeah, like, this is a testament to the quality of the show, because in other podcasts that we've done, we've criticized episodes of things in the past, and we can point to bad episodes, but I cannot point to one here that is truly 100% bad, or like even like super, super weak to that point, to that degree that I'll never watch them again. And so yeah, I do have to give kudos to this season. This was a great season. It really showed its hand in the second half, and I feel like that buildup was definitely worth the payoff. It is definitely something that I think you should show your kids. That is very, very good for people just getting into cartoons. Like this and My Hero Academia are ones that you should show your kid. But yeah, it's a great season. I highly enjoyed it. And now we have season 2 almost immediately afterwards. Yay, no time off. No, I'm glad that we have something so soon after the season, because to be honest, like I remember where we had the mid-season break of the first season, and we weren't sure when things were going to happen. Now we kind of do, and it's actually, in my opinion, better showcased now, where I actually know what's going on, and I know like pretty much what they're going to do with the season, rather than just drop a bunch of episodes at random. So, Kat, why don't you give us a brief summary of this new episode?
The Most Dangerous Game Night, aka the episode where Louis says, "Fuck this shit, I'm out. Fuck this shit, I'm out." so yeah, this episode dives right back into adventure. Families, on another great adventure again, looking for treasure. Except that Louis is now sick of adventure because he feels useless, he feels exhausted, he feels like it's never ending. So he finally manages to convince the family to take it easy by doing a game night. Not realizing that by game night, he means the most competitive, argumentative, round of games in the history of Family Game Night.
So who wants to play Monopoly and lose all your friends?
This game is totally rigged. I mean, your picture's on the box.
Yeah, basically it's a whole chaotic series of events where Louis is trying desperately to get his family just to have a quiet night, but things keep happening. Family members keep fighting, games keep getting too extreme and too competitive, and then Gyro shows up for some reason and shrinks himself and becomes a god to these tiny micro people. As you do.
So it's a normal game night then.
I guess so.
Let me just say first off, I'm glad that we have a nice, simple breather episode to start off with. It's not super story heavy. And yeah, sometimes seasons can start off with a good story heavy episode and have it be good. But after the craziness of that season finale, it's nice to have a nice breather and have a good character episode. And this episode, I think, really showcased a little bit for each character, and more what their dynamic is. We have a lot with Louis learning that he is the person who talks them out of situations, and we're gonna get into a little bit more with that later. But we also have Dewey and Webby, who are usually in sync on adventures, finding out that they. In other aspects, they start fighting and they have nothing in common, and they have to work through that. And then you also have Scrooge and Donald, who are the most amazing game night team ever, which explains how they were so in sync on adventures, even though they're normally at each other's throats. And there's some really good character development here. So I really enjoy what they did with this cast for this episode, and I look forward to what season 2 has to offer. Before we even get into the plot, Kat, what do you think of this character stuff?
I'll be honest, I was a bit disappointed that we didn't go back to the story right away. It is nice to have a breather, but I was hoping there'd be at least some setup for what we can expect in season 2. But I mean, it was still a good character episode though for Louis, because granted, I mean, we already know what Louis' strength is, but in terms of regular adventuring, you can tell that he clearly has no interest when it comes to that stuff, especially because he's pretty much pinpointed the formula of how things are going to go down. Which let's face it, by this point, we all kind of know the stick and how everything's gonna go. They're gonna go on an adventure. They're gonna go through some elaborate path to the treasure. They're gonna try and get it, and then something happens, and then they have to fight their way out. So, yeah, pretty much we should call this Louis is good at cinema sins.
It's one of those things where I love how he pretty much is meta about the entire thing. First it's going to be like this, and then you're going to be like, wait, what? And then something bad happens, and Louis gets hurt.
But at the same time, it's funny because they set up for all these other possible adventures, and then Louis just steps in and is like, no, stop that, we're not doing that, nope. But it happens anyway.
Oh, God. Doug, what do you think?
Well, for starters, I think this episode's very relevant to you, Zen, especially given Louis' point of view on things. given how he just wants a break. And yet it's like,
Yeah.
they just came back from, an adventure. And then, like, as soon as they get in the door, Scrooge finds that map and he just wants to go right back out again. So
But I was just there.
It's almost like I post the new history of One Piece, and the irony of the situation is that nobody's asking for history of One Piece, and they're asking for DuckTales. No, I kid because I'm glad that you guys love the show, and I am very happy to talk about DuckTales. I kid because I love, but yeah, like I can definitely relate to Louis in this episode.
Yeah. I love that he's basically come up with the formula for it. It's like, what was it? It was like, what? Whoa, we found this thing. What? There's something that's wrong here. And then Louis gets hurt. And it's like, I do. It's such a chaotic episode too, but it's like they managed to fit in all of that character development. I feel like everybody gets a bit to shine in it. It's crazy. Like Gyro's got a minute to shine. Beakley's got a minute to shine. Launchpad, Duckworth
Huey, is back.
Louie, yeah, Duckworth is back, and he does more this time. I love how he tries to escape because he's like, "Oh no, we know how Scrooge is going to be with game night."
Oh, it seems I have some otherworldly business in the other plane. Ooh.
And I mean, by proxy, Donald gets development too, because it's like you show how much he and Scrooge know each other despite being at odds so much. So it's like it's crazy. Yeah, definitely, this was a very good character development episode.
Hashtag Team Uncle for the win.
Team Uncle, Team Best Dads. I
and Louis is Dewey is horrible at charades. Dear God.
Yes. It's like
he's like, milkshakes,
you can clearly...
milkshakes. Is it milkshakes? Milkshakes. It's milkshakes, right? It wasn't right the first 10 times you said it. Why the bloody hell will it be right the other 10 times?
Yeah, like she's trying to mime Uncle Scrooge, and it's extremely obvious. And wow. And I love when they're doing, like, Donald has, like, these most elaborate charades things, and, like, he just gets through them, like, so damn quick.
Well, it's like they said, when you spend your whole life having people that don't understand a damn word you say, you get good at pantomiming really well. So.
I do want to say, too, that the pacing of this episode is what I think really helps. It feels so short, but there's so much that they get in this short amount of time, but it doesn't feel rushed. It feels like everything has a good development to it. It's just a chaotic string of events, but you get these little bits and pieces, like, it keeps cutting back to the game night, then back to Gyro and his shrink ray and all this stuff that's happening with that, and it kind of like ties in together at the end with all these different plot points that are tied together very well, but are related to each individual character. And it just, to me, it feels like a perfectly paced episode. And if you're going to go this route, this is how you want to pace it.
True. I will agree, despite not knowing what direction it was going in, the pacing was pretty good. And I love how we see Gyro's, like, God complex in, like, full swing in this episode. Even though he's, like, barely on screen for most of it.
I love when they do, like, the shrinking puns and stuff, like, quick, climb the Tower of Infinity, and it's a Jenga set.
I gotta wonder, though, how that micro-civilization managed to survive, given how they keep showing how their civilization, like, how they keep building it in impractical places, and it gets destroyed by, like, the simplest of things. Like, they build it in a hamper, and they get crushed by the laundry. They build it in a toilet, and it gets flushed. It's like, wow, you people are not smart.
We were curious, okay? It's you say that you should be wary of the toilet, but you saw what happened to Peridot, okay?
So much plunging.
It's super toilet. But technically, to them, that is a super toilet.
But why would you build a civilization in there? First off, there's no way that would last long. Not in a house filled with how many people? 7? Not to mention, ew, the smell, the skid marks, the crud. Ew.
And there, the place is constantly being cleaned, so.
But overall, there isn't too much going on in terms of plot, and that's why I did want to kind of combine this with the season retrospective and whatnot, because to be fair, this is a pretty it's a minor episode. There's not too much story stuff that happens. It's a very big character piece. But it's not necessary viewing. Is it a fun episode? Oh, hell yes. Seeing all the different antics, seeing, hey, we have a small civilization, and then we have Uncle Scrooge playing Monopoly, where all the board pieces are top hats. This is fun. But it's not a big story episode.
Well, one thing I liked is how they addressed Della. The fact that now they're actually willing to welcome her memory back into their lives, by hanging up her picture. And also the fact that they finally address, how Louie kind of takes after her in a way. Because I remember reading the comics, the DuckTale comics for a bit before I stopped. The parts with Della. And granted, she didn't have the best characterization in the comics. But I could definitely see where Huey took after her and where Dewey took after her. With her, being big on plans and everything. And then, rushing headfirst into adventure and all that. But I always thought to myself, where does Louie get his personality from? I mean, I guess it'd be Scrooge, given how much he loves money and treasure and stuff. But this episode actually does address, how he carries her memory as well, which is nice because it seems like he's the most impacted by her memory and seems the most affected by the fact that he doesn't feel like he's kind of living up to her legacy. And I do like that Scrooge actually acknowledges that, she could always see the big picture and could streamline our adventures so that they didn't end as horribly. That's where you get that from. And I really like that. And it's showing that, Louie's not just, a greedy little kid obsessed with getting treasure and getting rich quick. He actually has a critical mind and has the ability to become a really good businessman. So that was cool.
And I think the thing that I like the most about this ending in relation to that is that he basically directs them all from the Monopoly board and just say, okay, you do this, this is how we can get it done. And I said to myself, and I believe I said it to you guys in the chat, he could be a good oracle to their group. If he doesn't want to get into the physical fray for adventures, he could be their contact and tell them, okay, this is what you need to do. You can direct them on where to go, and I think that would actually be better for him since he's not exactly a physical adventurer. Yes, he does love treasure, and he's very good at appraising it, and he has his collection started now, but I think that having him as an oracle would be more beneficial to him.
Guy in the chair.
The guy in the chair. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, it kind of baffled me that he felt like he was getting dragged on these adventures. It's like, dude, you've opted out of adventures before. Nobody stopped you. What is different now? So, I mean, I do think this is it would be cool. I mean, granted, you want to keep Louie in the plot because he is a fun character. So, I mean, maybe if he became a little more tech savvy or Scrooge got him his own, computer area or something where he could do that. But I mean, for now, he has, was it Louie Incorporated? Maybe he'll, build up towards that. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah,
I mean, he did already receive a dime from Scrooge, even if he did lose it.
Well, he gave him that idol at the end, which was basically his own dime, so.
And I really do like that ending. Honestly, that might be the most story-heavy part of the episode, where it's just like, okay, here, this statue, this is your number one dime. Get started, start your own business. And it's like, okay, well, this separates the three even more. Especially because, like, we know now what each one is good at, and we know kind of starting right now, like, what Louis' goals are. And I feel like going forward, each of them are going to have different career aspirations. And I'm wondering if all of them are going to be business or adventure related, or if they're going to try something different with the other two.
I'm sure they'll work their way up to it. I mean, they've already established now, how good Huey is at like planning everything out and finding patterns and all that. And then of course, showing that that Dewey works really well in sync with Webby, how how she's good at like all the physical activity and stuff. Like they could easily be like they could easily break off and become like their own individual pair of adventurers, kind of become like archaeologists and all that, and like go off on their own. I could definitely see like those two plots being like furthered along. I'm sure we'll get to it, and I'm sure it'll be awesome.
What if, and here's a thought, what if they become spies and their part of the adventure is the spy organization?
That'd be cool.
Shush.
Yeah, we can finally bring Shush back into the mix.
Other than that, I mean, a lot of it is just a lot of this episode is stuff that takes place in like a random series of events that you kind of have to see. There's a lot of good comedy bits, there's a lot of good introspective character bits, but a lot of it is just, let's see how this situation unfolds. And again, it's a very enjoyable episode, but there's not as much to talk about, in my opinion. Do you guys have anything else to add before I start final thoughts?
In terms of this episode, not really. I did look ahead at future episodes, though, just to gauge how much we have to look forward to. So there's 4 more episodes that are confirmed from this point forward, weekly. We have the next episode is The Depths of Cousin Feathery, which reintroduces a character from the comics that we don't know that much about, but I'm sure will get fleshed out more. And he's voiced by Tom Kenny, so yay, get to see him. The episode after that is The Ballad of Duke Baloney. See how that pans out. After that is The Town Where Everyone Was Nice. I get the creepy feeling this is going to involve a cult. Or a curse. Who knows? But the episode after that has me excited because it's a character coming back that we've seen before. Storkules in Duckburg. So we're gonna see the mighty Storkules grace Duckburg, and it'll probably be like that modern day Hercules movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger or something like that.
And I think this will be a good opportunity to return to 2 things that we thought of. One, they can tell Storkules and possibly Celine that Della about what happened to Della, and possibly figure out why Celine, the goddess of the moon, doesn't know that Della's alive on the moon.
Yeah, that is a very good question. I mean, because that was another thing I was wondering about from the finale when they revealed that Della has been on the moon this entire freaking time. Which, given that Scrooge sent out that entourage to look for her in space, it's like, so they looked all throughout space except for the moon? And even putting that aside, how did she survive the last 10 years on the moon with no air or food or anything like that?
Well, clearly she had help from the space mummies that lived on the moon.
Wrong series.
For context, Kat has been showing me the 3 Caballero series, and yeah, I like it so far. It's a little bit more childish, but I like it. Just in case anyone was wondering, it's a good series. Go check it out. It is completely in English, but it's airing only in the Philippines.
Yeah, go figure. But yeah, like, and now it's like even made even worse because it's like Celine is the goddess of the moon. You think she'd notice if her best friend has been futzing about on the moon the last decade? Like, come on, Celine, get your shit together. Like,
Hey, it's not my fault that the sphere of Selene was in somebody. Wait, no, I could have found out this entire time.
oh god, this is gonna be a fun one to explain. I'm already looking forward to the convoluted explanation.
I'm gonna wonder what happens, but ultimately, if it's not fully explained, I will still be fine because I'm having fun so far. Doug, any other thoughts?
I mean, yeah, there's not much to say other than this. This was just a fun episode. Just, oh my god, I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed that, Louis got his time to shine, especially, getting to realize himself, although, dear god, his ego is going to be inflated now. But yeah, I felt like this episode was just like, it was bordering on a farce, minus the slamming doors. And I love me some farce. But this was fun. I really loved the element of the game night in it, and I would have loved to see them, do more games too. It's odd though that they didn't have like Huey and Louie actually actively participate. I'm surprised nobody questioned it. Although there was like the when Launchpad gets shrunk down and Beakley looks for him and she's like, "Oh, can't find him. Oh well, I guess that means I'm out." I'm just like, yeah, so Beakley's basically become the fuck this shit, I'm out too.
Beakley knows what's up.
Yeah.
So my final thoughts, I think this was a great start to the season 2 proper. Is it a story episode? No, it doesn't really lead into anything yet, but I like that they're taking a breather. We had a lot of fun. Now I'm ready for a story episode. So we'll see what happens. I enjoyed the episode, not one of my top, but still a great, fun start to the season. Kat, final thoughts.
ooh, spooky. Sorry. Sorry, I don't know why I did that. somebody was messaging me something about like a Halloween special, and I'm like, huh. Anyway, you got
I
that
wonder
out.
if it's Halloween coming soon. We might have a Disney debate coming up that has stuff to do with Hocus and other things.
Nah.
But yeah, as I said, this was a fun episode. I definitely enjoyed it. It definitely made me laugh. But I'm looking forward to more plot-driven episodes and stuff. And I am looking to forward to the next episode, which it says is a Halloween special. So not only do we get to meet a character from the comics, we get to see the second Halloween-themed DuckTales episode. So yay, I'm excited.
And, of course, Mr. Doug.
Yep, I'm agreeing. I'm glad they kind of took a break because it doesn't need to be like My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, where every episode begins and ends with like a two-parter. That's big story thing. It's like sometimes just kind of ease back into it. That's this was needed. And it's like it's aware of what's happened before because they do acknowledge Della. They do put the picture back on the mantle. So I mean, it's like it's not story, but it does have relevance. So I mean, yeah, definitely. We don't really necessarily need like a big episode to start off the season. we had a good, opening when with Woohoo, which served to get everybody into the show, and then we had like the Shadow War, which was like, oh, awesome. But it's like, yeah, we could take a breather.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like, honestly, I do enjoy filler sometimes. I do kind of wish that American cartoons would start to adopt more a seasonal approach. Like, when I say this, I mean, yeah, obviously there's a season, but I'm talking more in the anime sense where there is a clear-cut arc and like there's very little like in between. Like, you have filler, but instead we have much more focus on story. I do feel like that some American cartoons could benefit from this, but what we got in this episode was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to more. With that being said, this has been a fun week. We have more in store in the coming weeks. We have more DuckTales Season 2 and then Season 3 after that. Oh, dear God. But
we'll be doing this forever.
we have job security and tenure, and we have cookies. But also... Well, you didn't ask. It's on the counter.
Jerk.
You ate them all, didn't you, fatty?
Shut up. They were delicious. I just couldn't help myself, okay? But yeah, we have more stuff in the pipeline. After this, we have more DuckTales episodes, but we also have a Disney debate coming up for Halloween on Hocus Pocus. It is already recorded. We have the title card. I just need to sit down and edit it. So look forward to that coming up. And we're going to be doing more Disney debate. We have a Christmas episode that we're working on. And we're also going to try to get back to the next marathon, which is on the Absent-Minded Professor. We're going to be discussing more of that in the future. If you like this podcast and some of the other, other podcasts that we do, why not check out my other videos? I do have other content, History of One Piece. If you like anime, I have Zen Anime. Zen Gaming is more about gaming. And obviously, I have Zen Movies talking about movies and other stuff. So give those a look if you're interested. In any case, I am Zenithwillrule.
I'm Kat Macberrie.
I'm the top hat. I'm Doug Macberrie.
And we are all the Top Hat. And we will see you guys next time. Have a good one, guys.
DTFN, ta-ta for now.
And just remember, there's a very big difference between pantomiming as a mermaid or whatever it is that Donald and Scrooge were arguing about in that pantomime. What the hell was that pantomime?
It's a manticore!
It's a manticore.
It's a milkshake.
Have a good one, guys.
Hey, this is Megami33. Thank you for watching Zenith Will Review. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more awesome videos. If you like what you see, check out the Patreon page at patreon.com/ZenithWillReview.